We're only 5 weeks in, but I'm sure you felt the weight of this content. I understand this is heavy. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for taking time to do this. Thank you for having the strength to work through a lot of this difficult material. To feel hopeless means that there's a deep sense of disparity in which there seems no future possibility of comfort or success. There doesn't seem to be a way out or an end to the suffering. This is why when Jesus read the words of Isaiah that he was the great Messiah and liberator, it was such good news to those who were poor, captive, and oppressed. When Jesus read those words, he was saying that hope is not lost. The great evil of human trafficking is that it's based on human beings abusing their power over others. Whether it's the trafficker or the buyer, there's someone's baby girl or precious son being used as a product. This is the recipe for hope to feel lost to a victim. And the easiest way for hopelessness to remain is for others to remain silent or simply ignore those who are at arm's length. This week, we're going to talk about our response, putting what we've learned into action. Remember our first week when we talked about the abolishment of slavery? It wasn't a task done overnight. It wasn't one major thing that happened. It was an overall belief that kept on growing and growing until slavery could no longer be tolerated. The fight against modern day slavery is finally being exposed. As we continue to expose it, we can create a better world for our children and grandchildren's generation, just as those who abolished slavery did for future generations. I believe that if we want to see an end to human trafficking, it will not be because of a perfect elected official, the most strategic governmental system, an overly aggressive judicial response, or some sort of creative outsourcing of efforts. The scriptures are clear that Jesus has called, empowered, and supernaturally gifted his followers, the church, to face something like this head on. And while we may see good systems and healthy laws come into place, it is only through Christ that true restoration can take place.
I think when you begin to get the heart of Jesus, and my question is, how would Jesus react to human trafficking? How would Jesus react to children, especially being abused in ways that we can't even imagine? I think that our heart should be his heart. What breaks his heart should break our heart. What he has compassion for, we should have compassion for. What he doesn't like, we shouldn't like. And I think that when we examine our life and say, okay, is my life lining up? Not just with the teachings of Jesus, but how about his heart? What's the heart of Jesus? Because Pharisees could do all the right things, but their heart was far from God. Jesus said, what does the Bible say? That you worship me outwardly, but your heart is far from me. And I think there's something about the heart when God begins to invade the human heart, then things that concern God concern me a lot, and especially with children. And he said, hey, bring the children to me. Let the children come to me.
You know, the reality of what's happening is exactly like when Jesus walked and talked to the people that everybody thought that he was, oh, you're Jesus Christ. You can't be going in that person's house. You can't be going into the tax collector's house and eating with him. It's the same way. We're the church of God. What you're going to hear me say is not going to make you comfortable, but it's a reality. And if I can't come up here and tell and share with you some of the reality of what's going on, you will never understand how bad this is.
There should be, more conscious approach to discussing this issue and recognizing that, generally speaking, those who are engaged in sex trafficking are the victims of sex trafficking, and those who are pimping, so to speak, are the ones that we should be focusing on.
Here's what you can do. You can learn what the signs are. You can learn how you can help. There's a national trafficking hotline. You can even call law enforcement as well. Get literature in the churches that tell you about the different signs, maybe get into some of the vulnerabilities, put in some scenarios of how it happens.
The human trafficking and what individuals can do or how to report something, I think that you need to put it out there a little bit more where you're educating the public. Because a lot of people, if you tell them, hey, what is human trafficking and what does it look like? I don't know. Going to a mall and seeing a guy in the mall with a little girl holding her hand and she's giving you some telltale signals that I need some help, but I can't say help. What are some of the signals that she's giving off, or what can you do to make eye contact with that young lady or that young boy to say, do you need help?
When the public says enough's enough and they're going to elected officials and says, hey, regardless of whatever political aisle you're on, this is wrong. And we want to see stiffer penalties. We want buyers held more accountable. We want traffickers held accountable. We want statute and laws put in to help victims of trafficking, to help them be able to get into a normal lifestyle and not have to live down the road with the stigma that they once were victimized in sex trafficking. So the public plays a huge part in this.
And so it's one thing for me to say, hey, our children aren't for sale, not here. It's another to actually enforce that not only within our respective systems, but across systems, and beyond that, to invest in the resources to even do prevention as a part of the process.
Yeah, there are some reports out there that say every zip code in the United States right now has had at least one arrest for sex trafficking. So it doesn't matter if a church is located in a suburban area, a rural area, an urban area. Doesn't matter if it's high population, low population. Doesn't matter if it's a wealthy environment, a poverty environment. Trafficking's happening everywhere. So if trafficking's happening everywhere, it turns out there happen to be churches everywhere, right? And so those churches, in whatever environment they happen to have been established, should be looking outward about what's happening in sex trafficking in their community.
Just make it known. Make it known. And when you see the people that are like that, love them and just pull them close, show them the love of Jesus, be consistent. Just be consistent in their lives. Treat them like they're people. Treat them like they're your equal. Because we're all pink on the inside. God made us all in His image. No one person is better than the other. Just love them where they're at.
As a earthly father protecting his children, a heavenly father looks down at unprotected children. And according to Ephesians, we're the hands and feet of Jesus. He's the head, we're the body. So the body should respond to the head, and that is to go out and to somehow, however that is, and He gives strategies and ways that we're able to say, you know what, we can make a difference. We can begin to push back darkness. We can begin to save and to rehabilitate and to help kids not just come out, but to get healed and whole from what they've been through.
As we consider the practicalities of how to engage in the fight and to end human trafficking, it's important to know that the experts have boiled the recipe for success down to these 3 categories. Prevent child recruitment, disrupt the complacency of purchased sex in society, and serve those who are impoverished. Each of these categories are, by all means, challenging to wrestle through because each aspect requires intentionality, context, and wisdom. For instance, as it pertains to preventing child recruitment, how can we help educate and train those who are in direct contact with kids and youth every day? How can we become further involved with things such as foster care and teen pregnancies? Are we prepared to assist minors who are adjusting to life after they age out of group homes and foster homes? for disrupting the complacency of purchased sex? Are we standing up for victims by spreading awareness? Are we holding political leaders accountable for how they are preventing or responding to human trafficking in society? Are we respectfully educating our own church leaders so they don't ignore this atrocity in our neighborhoods or perhaps even in our own congregations? Do our church discipleship models move us to compassion like Jesus as we look to our own communities? When it comes to serving those who are impoverished, we have over 2,000 years of history that shows how the church is the best at doing this. The question now is, how can we strategically provide tangible assets to vulnerable people so they don't have to sell themselves? How can we go out of our way to affirm worth and dignity in people? What organizations or efforts can you partner with to serve those who are marginalized? Included in this week's study are resources and further reading for each of these areas. As a group, choose one or two of these categories to talk through with some practical ideas. You'll see some suggestions in your study guide to help with this, but allow for creativity and prayerful thought to lead the conversation. By going through the small group study, you've already engaged with us to end human trafficking in America. If you're someone who wants to engage more as an individual in the fight against human trafficking, I want to invite you to become what we call an abolitionist.
Hi there. My name is Jeremy Hicks with the U.S. Institute Against Human Trafficking. I'm sure you have felt God tugging at your heart as you have watched this series and thought to yourself multiple times, I do care about this, or I want to help, or I want to take action, but how? What are my first steps? I'm here to share with you that a program exists right now to help answer those questions. It's called the Abolitionist Project. The Abolitionist Project is a training and recruitment program to help connect you to the actionable steps and organizations that fight human trafficking in our community. We have partnered with organizations around the world, from foster care agencies to safe homes, pregnancy care centers, victim care centers, and more. And we are plugging in our team of abolitionists to create an army that fights human trafficking throughout our nation. Our focus with our army of abolitionists is to prevent trafficking, provide victim care, and discourage the demand from buyers. To become an abolitionist, simply go to our website right now and sign up. We will be in touch with you to help guide you in the right direction based upon your location, your time availability, and your gifting so that you can begin taking an effective approach toward this fight. Our battle will not be accomplished overnight. It's going to take many individuals, many groups, and many leaders taking action to help solve the problem. We're going to go on the offensive against the oppression, the abandonment, and the abuse in our country, carrying out the commission that the Lord has called us to do. As long as we're all doing something, we can make a dent in this industry. If you want to get involved and take action, your first step right now is to join our Abolitionist Project today. Thank you so much for joining this movement and becoming more involved to end human trafficking in our nation.
A final word. You're not alone in this. The amazing truth is that God is already at work and already moving ahead of us. Jesus didn't leave us to figure things out on our own. We have within us the Holy Spirit to help and guide us to follow and become more like Jesus every day. He will give us the wisdom and tools that we need along the way. I pray that God can use this series and unite His church around the mission to end human trafficking. Please continue this mission and never back down, advocating hope for the hopeless.